Welcome back to the Brothers by Law podcast. My name's Paul.
And this is John over here.
And we are back again. Now, you may have noticed that we were, you may or may not have noticed that we were gone. It's been like 2 weeks since we've actually recorded, so you probably have noticed at some stage. I mean, assuming there was anybody watching this, which there isn't.
I really don't think there is.
But if there was, they would have noticed that we were gone for a couple weeks, and that is because I had the particular virus that's been going around that shall not be named because of YouTube reasons, and that's where we currently are right now.
Oh gosh, is that still a rule on YouTube?
Yeah, no, that's still a problem on YouTube. You can't say that.
You can't talk about the...
No, you cannot. You can't talk about the C word.
The C word.
It's funny because that means something else entirely. Yeah, no, I had that, and let me tell you, was not that bad. Did not think it was that bad.
I had it earlier, way earlier.
How did you have it? Like, was it bad for you?
Yeah, it was pretty bad actually. So
Really?
It was in November.
Okay.
And it was the best time of my life for so many reasons.
Yeah.
Number one, let's see here, going through a breakup and COVID on the same.
Oh yeah,
weekend.
I remember that.
And it was my birthday.
Yeah, I remember that. That was that was a rough week. No, I caught it. I'm kind of upset about it because I don't even know where I got it from.
Yeah.
You know, it just showed up. Like sometimes, like a couple of the people that I know, they like can trace it back where it came from. Like, oh well, this person I knew had just had it and they thought they were out of their quarantine time. But no, mine, I had no idea where it came from. None at all. But so I started developing Wednesday evening, right?
Right.
And it was, like, fine. It just kind of felt like a cold. It just was, like, chills and a fever.
Yeah,
And then
chills.
the following day, it just hit me like a bus.
Yep.
I'm not going to lie. The first day sucked pretty bad.
Yep, I remember that.
Day 2 was completely fine. Like, I still had the symptoms, but I totally could work. But my work told me to take it off anyway because, the special virus. So I got the time off. And then there was a long weekend. So by the time Tuesday rolled around, I was completely fine, even though I still was experiencing symptoms, quote unquote. But yeah, I was really underwhelmed. I thought it was going to be a lot worse because everybody was building it up, and it was fine.
Yeah, like I said, for me, like I was pretty sick. Like I got so freaking cold.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing for me. I was cold all the time. I could literally be wearing, 4 shirts and a jacket and a blanket around me. I'd still be cold. Didn't matter what I did.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Took about a week.
Yeah. I think my saving grace was that my wife has like a million blankets. So it was funny. The first night I had it, I was so cold. What I had on pants, a shirt, an overshirt, my really fuzzy bathrobe, and then I had a blanket wrapped around my legs like a towel, and then I had another blanket wrapped around my chest, and then I had a third blanket on top of that, and I was able to get warm with that. But it took a lot of doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my experience with the special virus.
Special virus. Yeah.
So yeah, that's why there was a little break in the middle. We're doing something a little different today. I don't know if you've noticed. We're not going right into a topic. We're kind of bantering a little bit.
Yeah. So another thing I want to mention.
Yeah.
Exciting. No one cares.
No one at all. Not even me.
But I do. My band Foxpaw
Wow.
We are doing a plug right now. Is playing a charity because it's about the kids.
It's about the children.
And 100%. It is this weekend.
So if you're there, come on down.
So it's in York, and it's an actual like show. There's 8 bands. It's an actual festival. There's an actual stage with lighting and professional gear.
Yeah,
it is legit.
It does look pretty legit. You showed me pictures. It looks pretty solid.
And I don't even know how I got the show, but I did. And
how did you get the show?
So this guy that I recorded music with in York.
Okay.
Liked our sound a lot.
Okay.
And he runs a festival now.
Oh.
And he
just happens to?
Yep. And
all right.
So, I mean, it's literally our 3rd show. The first 2 were open mic nights and coffee shops.
Huh.
So I'm going to be playing for probably 150 to 200 people.
That's not a bad first show for a band.
Yeah.
First real show.
It's really pretty amazing, and I'm a little nervous, but I'm more excied than I'm nervous.
I feel like you'll be fine. You're a pretty natural born performer. I feel like you'll get it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I think we should touch a little bit on the topic, and then if we probably will have time after, so we can sort of get back to a little
questions
bit of, or just goofing around, just a little bit of the goofs. So, we've been talking a lot about manliness and how to be, like the three tiers of men, how to be the type of man that people want to be around. And I think I wanted to talk about one thing that is very difficult to do. I definitely don't do this subject as well as I want to. I feel like the people who do this well, this is a huge part that determines whether or not you're a bottled wine or an aged wine type of guy, for those of you who remember. Yeah, this is a huge, huge part. And that is being able to, I don't know, I haven't written down here how to disagree, but I think more it's just how to have a conversation with someone with whom you disagree.
Right.
So, like, conversation is a really big thing, and a lot of dudes don't tend to get as much instruction as they ought to.
True.
Because, like, I don't know how much this is nowadays, but I know in the 90s there was, like, a huge wave of jokes and movies and stuff where it's talking about how, oh, women, all they want to do is talk, and men, they never want to talk about anything.
Right.
I don't know how consistent that is now, but I definitely see the needfulness for, like, the experience in conversating. And I feel like we can at least work through some of it ourselves, and maybe somebody else gets something out of it. I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. So the first thought is kind of like guys are not meant to show their emotions, and they're not meant to be open. And this is my theory. I think why maybe guys struggle with this. I don't know if they struggle with it more than girls. We'd have to think about that. But part of the reason guys struggle, I think, is because since we can't be open, the only other option is to be closed and to fight.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I think so. So I think there's definitely like a false dichotomy that's been made where your options are to be emotionally incontinent, where you're, no filter for your emotions ever for any reason, or the other binary is you can't show emotions ever. And I think that's really unhealthy.
Yeah.
For everyone, because when men get pent up, they do horrible things.
Yeah.
I think I think men tend to do best when they do have elements of stoicism where they don't show their emotions very freely.
Yeah, definitely.
But there's definitely people that you should show emotion around. So I personally believe that your parents are one. Your parents you're free to show emotion around your parents. Assuming that your parents have a right relationship with you. Obviously, if your parents are off the deep end, you don't want to do that. If you have a spouse, I think that's the most healthy space for a man's emotions to be completely unlocked and just open.
Yeah.
Like, the way I act around my wife when I get excited about something stupid is I would never get that excited in front of anybody else. Right. So I think there is certain people, siblings to a certain extent, depending on your relationship with your siblings, there are certain people, my point being, there are certain people that you should show your emotions around, because otherwise they get pent up, and then your only option, because the false dichotomy of, you can't show any emotion, what that creates is a lot of anger. And then that anger has to come out sometime, somewhere. And usually it's not in a good way. What do you think?
Yeah, so there's a few reasons for this. Like, I don't want to make this a single cause for it, but most suicides and most violent acts are from men. Yeah. And now that's because men are more aggressive. True. But it's also because we've misunderstood how to share emotions. So
yeah, I'd agree.
What we've gotten right in a way is that guys should be stoic. Mm-hmm. To a degree, but being stoic doesn't mean not sharing your emotions. It means or at all. Yeah. What I mean is, like, if you're a stoic guy and you are still showing leadership, you're gonna share your emotions, but you're not gonna crumble in front of people. I think that's the difference.
Yeah, not that emotional incontinence.
Exactly. It's not
you just can't control yourself.
It's not like I'm throwing up all over and it's like, oh, help me, I don't know what to do. It's unattractive to a partner. It makes people feel weird when a guy does that. Yeah. But at the same time, you have to...
A grown man crying is one of the most uncomfortable experiences to be around.
Unless you're at a Michael W. Smith concert.
Even still, not my thing.
So the best way, it's like, let's say you're having an issue with your girlfriend or wife or whatever. The best way to do is say, hey, yeah, this has bothered me a lot, but hey, I know like I've been through this before. I'm going to get through it.
Yeah.
Because you want to share your emotions without losing your frame.
Yeah, I think the man's job when it comes to showing emotions is to kind of be so emotions in humans are a fire hose essentially, and regardless of what you are, if you're a boy or a girl, you have just a fire hose worth of emotions. And women, it's not as big of a problem for them to have a much more open sort of spout on that fire hose. Like that's fine. In most cases, not all, but in most cases, and in a lot more cases than men, it's fine. With dudes, you really have to have the actual fireman's nozzle on it, because I don't know how familiar you are with fireman's nozzles. They are incredibly focused, and like you'll get knocked off your feet if you get hit by one.
Yeah.
Like there's videos, I'm sure you've seen them online, of like firemen sitting down on a hose and then they turn it on and it pushes them back.
Oh yeah.
Across the ground. Like
a lot of water pressure.
It's our job to be incredibly focused with our emotions, and our emotions can be very powerful, but they have to be very focused. We're kind of getting off into the weeds about the emotions, but
I think it's a good point.
It is a good point.
Because we can't make this black and white. We can't say men should or shouldn't. But
Yeah.
we're also talking, you're right, we're also
there
talking
needs to be
about,
gradients.
Right. So let's steer back in, because
Yeah.
what we're really trying to talk about is having tough conversations, or having, we call them arguments or disagreements.
Yeah, disagreements,
is a better
arguments,
way.
any of those fights. I mean, really all these words sort of in the American lexicon mean the same thing.
So let's talk about this. Paul, what are some of the mistakes that people make, guys or girls? I don't think we need to break this down into those.
No, yeah.
Guys or girls, what are the mistakes people make that make arguments not get resolved and just get worse?
Well, the number one thing is what we just spent like 5 to 10 minutes talking about, and that is letting your emotions be completely incontinent, just come out of nowhere.
Right.
So when you're having, I mean, think about this. If you're trying to have a reasonable discussion, it doesn't help if one person is breaking down and the other person is having just a rage-induced episode.
Right.
So like, let's use this as an example, and we can come back to this throughout the show as we need. You and me are trying to figure out what we want for dinner, right?
Okay.
You and me are trying to figure out what restaurant we're going to.
We're probably going to Taco Bell.
If you suggest Taco Bell to me and I start just getting furious, like I'm just shaking mad, that conversation's not going to go anywhere, and it's not going to end up anywhere good. It's going to end up with probably one of us, if not in the hospital, in severe pain. Like if you suggesting Taco Bell puts me into a blind rage, it's not good. So I think the biggest thing people do is they let their emotions flow too freely during conflict.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to do that, because disagreeing with people doesn't feel good ever.
There's a Bible verse that we're going to bring up here.
Oh, I've got a few of those.
Proverbs 18.
15:1.
15:1. Can you read that off?
A soft answer turns away wrath, which is just so good.
It's beautiful. And
So good.
I want to talk about, let's just park there for a second. Soft answer turns away wrath. We use the Taco Bell analogy. Obviously,
It's kind of silly.
It's
but
kind of a silly
it
one.
Works.
But let's say it was something more serious. Like one person wants to buy a car. We're talking about like a married couple here.
Yeah.
Wants to buy a car, and the other person doesn't want to buy that car because they want to avoid debt.
Yeah.
As soon as someone gets mad and lets their emotions get out of control,
The first thing that's going to go is their language.
problem's not the car. It's problems that you don't know how to find a common ground on the car.
Yeah.
So
Let me read off I have some points here. I read them to you before the show. I'm going to read off sort of the quick version of these. And then I think we'll go back and talk about them individually and the inverse and why the inverse is a problem.
okay.
So there's two Bible verses I want to bring up at the beginning. One is the Proverbs 15:1, which we already talked about. And the second one is Romans 12:18,
Yep.
which a paraphrase is live at peace with all men as much as is on you. So like the point of it being, as much as it's your responsibility, make sure that you're not having a conflict with anybody.
Right.
As much as is possible. Or as much as is reasonable, I should say. Because I touch on a similar thing later. So the way I sort of view it is Romans 12:18 is the rule, be at peace with people. And then that Proverbs 15:1 is going to be the methodology that you use to preserve that peace. So a soft answer is going to stop somebody getting angry. Because with the car analogy, so let's say I want to buy a new car, but my wife doesn't because she wants to avoid debt. If her first response is to go and talk about, well, I guess you just want us to be in debt because you don't want us to succeed as a family, immediately that's shut down the conversation. We're not talking about a car anymore. Now we're talking about our personal issues. So if she says, well, here's the thing, I don't think that's a good idea, and here's the reason for it. That's a soft answer, and that's going to prevent me from getting upset at her.
Right.
And prevent her from getting upset at me. It's going to turn the wrath away from the conversation.
Right. It's been common. Something I've learned in sales.
Yeah.
If I feel like I'm losing someone and they're about to just be like, no, I don't want to do this right now, the best way to open another human being up is a question.
Yeah.
So, like, if they're like, no, John, I really don't want to hear about this right now. I just don't have time. And then I'll say this. I'll be like, okay, I understand what you're saying. Hey, can I ask you a question really quick?
Because it shifts the focus to lets them be in control of the conversation, because they can say no.
Because what I'm saying is, like, I'm giving them freedom. Like,
Yeah.
hey, is it okay if I ask you a question?
Yeah.
And then they'll always say, yeah, sure, man, what's up?
Yeah.
And then I'll say this. I'll say, hey, if I could save you a lot of money on your estimating, would that be something of interest to you at all?
Yeah.
And they'll say, yeah, I guess it would be. And then I'll be like, great. Well, you're busy right now. About that.
Yeah.
And they'll say, okay. I'm like, great. I'll talk to you in a week.
Yeah.
Next time I call them, they're way more open because I let them have the floor.
You
and I
let
ask
them
a question.
you let them be in charge.
Yeah, people do not want to be bossed around by salespeople. Trust me.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do is try to tell someone what to do.
100%. And the same holds with relationships. Like, you don't want to be the person who's domineering, regardless of what role in the relationship you serve.
Because I think that's what's at the core of a lot of arguments is loss of control sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like,
Loss of
I have to
control.
fight for this just because I have to fight for this, not because I care.
I think loss of control and lack of communication, like lack of understanding between two parties, I think is the two biggest things.
Yeah, for sure.
The next thing I wanted to move on to, the next sort of like thing that I think is really important for men to understand, or sorry, this is the first part of the list. So I have a list of a few things that I think a man, a aged wine man is going to accomplish these very well. And these are stuff that, as what I consider to myself to be a bottled wine, this is the kind of stuff that I strive for. I fail a lot, but this is the kind of stuff that I'm going
really quick.
for.
So when we say bottled wine, so there's three tiers of man. We talked about
Boxed
this
wine.
Boxed wine, which is the lowest quality, means
awful.
that you're
You hate
mature. You're just not there yet.
Yeah.
Then you have
Bottled
wine,
which is fine. That's going to be your, like, most of your men, honestly.
we
that you
consider
meet.
ourselves in a bottled wine category.
Yeah. It's going to be someone who's usually dependable, who usually does the right thing, but maybe doesn't have the grace to do the right thing well.
Or all the time.
Or all the time. And then you've got the aged wine. This is the bottle of wine that's been around for 300 years and aged in like oaken barrels and stuff. This is the guy who knows the right thing to do and knows how to do it with grace and with poise and with efficiency.
It's just wisdom.
Yeah,
basically.
just skill in living. Wisdom, I think it's the Hebrew word for wisdom, just means skill in living.
Yep.
And this aged wine embodies that perfectly.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a good point. When we're talking about like the aged wine, this is what we mean.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing that I think is very important for a manly man to have was that find the soft answer. Now this soft answer, as a caveat, is not always going to be a concession or a compromise. As a matter of fact, most times it's not going to be. Because in the car analogy, it's not going to be my wife saying, well, I don't want to, or if she wanted to get the car and I didn't, it's not going to be me saying, well, I don't want to, but I guess we will because I don't want to fight. It's not running from a disagreement. It is more like looking for an offer of peace. So when you, in old like combat, like medieval times, when you had two kingdoms that were fighting, they would have the peace offering come out first. So you'd have the two like authorized negotiators, and they would come out to an area where you couldn't bring weapons, and you would just meet and you would talk.
Right.
And that's what your soft answer should be. Is your soft answer should be you extending the olive branch and just be like, let's talk about this and let's get this into an area where we can both voice our disagreements. So we can both disagree, possibly very strongly, but keep it in a way where we're not going to fight each other because we disagree.
Let's practice. I'm going to come at you.
Do it.
Okay.
I'm gonna fail so hard.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, John.
Dude, seriously. Okay, look, you can't park in front of my car. Like, you do this all the time, and I can't get out of my parking spot, and I'm gonna be late to work.
Okay.
Can you please not?
I absolutely hear you, and yes, I will start parking up the street a little bit. It's a little bit more of a walk for me, but consider this. What if you park a little bit more forward on the street? Then there's 2 spots in that area. I can park there, you can park there, we can both get out.
Yeah. You know what I would change about that? I'd be
Lay it
like,
on me.
hey, I will definitely park. Let me tell you this. I'll definitely park further up the street.
Yeah.
So I'm not in your way. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Can I ask you one favor too?
Yeah.
It's easier for me to park in front of the house.
Yeah.
So if you could park closer to the driveway so that I can get behind you and it's not a problem for both of us, right?
Gotcha.
Fair enough.
That's good.
Dude,
I like
awesome,
that.
man.
I
Thank
like
you.
that a lot.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
That is so. Yeah, that's gonna be your soft answer. Is you're gonna be, and there's not always going to be an instant, easy resolve like there is in the like fake things we do, but the thing about being the aged wine, if you want to be the aged wine man, your job is to be looking for those constantly, and honestly, subconsciously. Like, you're not even thinking that you're looking for it, but you just see things and make connections. You're like, oh well, obviously this is an easy solution.
Right.
So like, it's hard to do, and like I said, I think I speak for both of us when I say we're not to the level where we're going to meet all of these lists that I'm making, even most of the time. I'd say maybe 50% on like a good day, you know.
Oof.
Like
Generous.
that's being generous.
I mean,
but
even like an age line person's not hitting like 70 or 80%.
no,
they're in their
they're still
20s.
going to be having their problems, but I mean, you know, it is what it is. So the next thing, apart from the soft answer, is you're going to be manly disagreement is avoiding. I think this. So this, you might disagree with this. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
So avoiding fighting whenever reasonable. Like,
Avoid fighting whenever reasonable.
not whenever possible. That's very important. Not whenever possible. Because here's the thing. If you never want to fight, if you avoid fighting at all costs, whenever possible, you will never fight ever in your life. And that is a terrible thing. As a
Right.
Christian, never fighting is awful. That is a terrible way to live. Because that same mindset that's going to say, I'm never going to fight, is the same mindset that's going to allow atrocities to happen when you could stop them.
So there's a certain time, and I know what you're talking about. So I don't think people would know what we're talking about here exactly. The right times to fight are when it is in front of other people. Let me explain that. So during a debate, for example,
Okay?
let's say that someone is arguing that abortion is good,
Sure.
and I'm in a debate with them. Like, it's no offense to the person, I'm going to do everything I can to win that argument in
Yeah.
front of other people.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
I think it depends on the context for the argument. So in a debate, you're not arguing against the person. Or you're not arguing for the other person. You're arguing for the people listening.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, but if it's in like the case of like a discussion with me and my wife where we very strongly disagree, if I can reasonably, when I say avoid a fight whenever reasonable, so let's say that parking dispute like we had earlier.
Yeah.
Let's say that's in between me and my wife. She doesn't like that I park behind her in the thing. Could I have a very valid reason for parking where I do and blocking her in? Sure, there's valid reasons for that. But it is not, it's reasonable for me as a husband to just put myself at a slight inconvenience and park 2 feet to the left. You know, that's reasonable for me. But if hypothetically, my wife would never do this. Mel, if you're listening, please don't kill me. Hypothetically, if I was if Mel was pregnant and she was considering abortion, that is not a moment where I can reasonably not fight her on that. I would absolutely, I would fight tooth and nail to keep that child.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
like,
Yep.
obviously those are two very different extremes between parking dispute and killing a child. Obviously those are two very different situations. In normal life, you're going to have a lot more gray area. But the thing that sort of the main guiding principle that I have is, I gave this advice to John a long time ago. I don't know if he remembers, but it's don't sweat the petty things and don't pet the sweaty things. So, like, if it's something that you can reasonably just shrug off, do it. That's 100% my advice.
Yep.
What you got?
Yeah, so there's like a rule that I stole this from Jordan Peterson.
You steal a lot from that guy.
Yeah, because he's smart.
I guess.
You got me in psychology.
I guess.
So there's like the 30 strike rule
Sure.
that he uses. So the first time that someone does something that's wrong against you, you brush it off. You're like, okay, maybe they didn't mean to do that.
Okay.
That they totally did that.
Okay.
And you keep that in your mind. The third time is when you bring it up to them. Not fighting, but that's when you come in humbly and you say, hey, I've noticed you've done a few things here, and then you give specifics. Look, last week you parked in front of the drive. You parked behind the driveway too much. I can't park there.
Okay.
And then you did it again yesterday. So I just wanted to let you know. I mean, can we make sure we park closer? And then
I'm not gonna lie to you, John. I was really getting ready to argue with you on this Jordan Peterson thing, but I actually 100% agree with you.
it's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. That's a solid. I think that's a solid way. If you can reasonably shrug off something happening twice before it gets to the point where you need to talk to them, I think that's when you know that doesn't need to be a fight. It can just be a conversation. Some things are going to be more important than that, and they are. So, okay. Mel and I do not have a lot of fights. As far as married couples go, we do not have a lot of fights. That said, we do have a lot of very intense discussions sometimes. And I think it's because both of us have just I don't even want to say skill. I just want to say luck to most times we're both in a good enough mood that we can realize that we don't want this to turn into an argument that's going to be a problem.
Right.
So, like, you gotta focus on whether or not it's worth dying on, which actually is one of my next points, but it kind of folds into this one really well, so I'm gonna bring it up. Pick your battles. Not every fight is worth fighting.
For sure.
So obviously the turn of phrase is this really the hill you want to die on? And I love that phrase so much because it puts it into such sharp contrast, because like the question then becomes, okay, John, the parking thing.
Yeah.
I'm parking in front of you and it's really bothering you.
Yep.
But and this is not to say that you shouldn't bring it up to me, but if I say, would you be willing to die for me to not park behind you? The answer is going to be no, almost 100% of the time. And that's how I like to think about arguments. If it's a big argument or if it's a big thing, I like to think about it. Is this really something that I would be willing to die for? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no.
If it's a die thing, that's when you fight, and that's the difference.
Yeah, like if it is one of those things that's a hill you want to die on, that's when it becomes, okay, the gloves go on, it's time to fight. But 9 times out of 10, if you really consider it, it's not a big deal. So like, all right, so that was weird.
Yeah.
The system just decided to stop recording for a little bit. As I was saying, 9 times out of 10, if you really take the time to stop and think about the problem, it's not that big of a deal. It's not a hill worth dying on. So yeah, I think pick your battles is incredibly important. I think, okay, we're going to move on to the next one, which is, I already did that one. Okay. Manly disagreement means remaining calm.
Yeah.
So another Bible verse here, James chapter 1, verse 20. Again, I can't remember if this is the entire verse, but it says, the wrath of man does not accomplish the righteousness of God. And I love that verse so much.
Yep.
It reminds you that, like, okay, if you're going to get mad, there are times to get mad. There certainly are. But man getting mad is not going to achieve the righteousness that you want to see in your life, in your marriage, in your friendships. What do you got?
Yeah. So, anytime you're arguing with a person and anger gets involved, anger is always attached to fear.
Yeah.
Fear is always, so like you just, if you're angry, then they're angry and they're scared and you're scared. And then it's just really at that point, you're just a couple scared cats. And the point is anger and logic don't even they're not friends.
Yeah.
So you don't want to bring anger into an argument because you have to work it out.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, especially with the Christian worldview, divorce, barring infidelity, is not an option.
Nope.
So at the end of the day, you still have to live with this person. If it's a marriage, you still have to live with that person. And it's not worth the momentary respite that being angry provides. It's really not.
It's really a pride thing, I think.
It is 100%.
Like
100%.
So, like, let me give a perfect example of this.
Lay it
so,
on me.
like I said, I always talk about this, but I'm in sales, and I do.
You do talk about it a lot.
Yeah, I do, but it's my job, and my job is a job where I'm talking to a lot of people, probably
Sure.
50 people a day at least, and a lot of times these people are rude to me, right?
Yeah.
So a big part of the pride thing is like if someone's rude, the best thing I can do, like let's say they're like, dude, you always freaking call me.
Don't call me anymore.
Can you not call me anymore? What do I want to say? I haven't called you in freaking 2 months, dude. Chill out. That's what I want to say.
Oh, yeah.
I don't call people that often.
Yeah.
So sometimes people just make that crap up, or maybe some other person called them, or
sure.
whatever. But so that's what I want to do is talk back to them. But the best thing I can do is just be like, hey, I understand what you're saying. I'll be honest right now. It says I haven't called you in 2 months. But hey, I'll just let you be, okay? Have a good day.
Yeah.
That's the best thing I can do. But it's a pride thing. At the end of the day, me getting mad at them, it's because my pride is hurt.
Yeah.
And I want to get back at them.
Yeah, because how do they speak to me like that?
Yeah, it's like, who do you think they are? But the thing is like, this has happened multiple times. This one lady sent me a nasty email. She was annoyed about her marketing emails.
I know a lot about those.
And so she sent me a nasty email, and my response was nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could have went off on her. I would have been justified completely. 2 hours later, I'm sitting in my bedroom. Ding! Get another email from the client. It's like, hey, John, I want to say I'm really sorry. I kind of blew up on you earlier. That wasn't right. Hey, why don't we set up the demonstration next week, okay?
Yeah.
So me keeping my cool probably made me money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it goes back into your life, too. There's not a dollar sign attached to these decisions that you make to be calm, but there's social capital in a way, if that makes sense.
And there's your wife not wanting to murder you when you lie down next to her to sleep, which, I gotta say, as a married man, it's a very good feeling to know that my wife doesn't want to kill me.
So, the Bible, exactly. And the Bible talks about this, like, people who are humble gain honor. And this is a big reason why, is because they don't let their pride get to them. They understand that God's the final judge, and they don't need to lash out. God will do that later.
Yeah.
And that's why you gain honor.
Judgment is mine, says the Lord.
That's right.
Great verse.
It's very hard because I'm a very naturally, like my natural inclination, I can go at people's throats, right?
Dude, same.
But I've really been learning lately. It's like, hey, it's
not worth it.
It's so not worth it. It'll destroy friendships.
Yeah.
It hurts you eventually, and
yeah. All right, I've got one more sort of note rule, I guess you want to call it, and then I have a final closing thought for this section. So manly disagreement is not compromising. So thus far we've talked a lot about how to keep a conversation cool.
right.
This is for when the conversation goes hot. This is for when the conversation has turned into a hot fight. The thing about it is, and this connects to choosing your battles and making sure that you're in the right area. When it comes to a matter of truth, when it's an argument over a matter of truth, so like you brought up earlier, the abortion argument, like the argument you're going to have with abortion or pro-abortion people, it's not compromising the truth. Now, when you are in an argument and it's about the truth, when I say don't compromise, what I do not mean is shut down and have this sort of pig-headed automatic gainsaying of whatever the other person says. That does have its place. That type of arguing does have its place. And you know what? It's rare, and I don't think an American has had to do it in America for a very long time. But it does have its time and place. But if you find the truth, and you should seek to find the truth, but when you have that truth, it's on you to remain calm, to search for the soft answers and stuff. But at the end of the day, it is on you. The most important thing is to not compromise the truth.
Right.
Because if you're compromise based on a lie is no better than compromise based on a lie is no better than an outright lie itself.
Right.
So if you're coming together and saying, you know what, we're just going to agree to disagree.
I hate those words.
But just, so
Kinda.
the abortion thing.
Right.
As Christians and as science-believing individuals,
Ooh.
embryology says unequivocally that a human life is created at conception.
Yep.
That is the truth. That is just what it is. I'm sorry if you feel otherwise. Don't care though. If you say, well, let's just agree to disagree, I am now on the hook for allowing abortion to continue. I'm allowing the murder of children to continue. If I just say, well, we'll just agree to disagree and I won't bring it up.
Nope.
Sorry, no, that is not something I'm willing to do. That is a hill I would be willing to die on.
Yeah.
And I say that with not a hint of irony or sarcasm or anything like that in my voice.
We're not gonna do anything.
No,
like,
I'm not
physically. But
no,
what
it's
we're
not.
saying
It's
is,
not a hill I would kill on. It's a hill I would die on.
Good point. I just want to make sure everyone understands.
Yeah, no,
what
it
we're
is-
saying right
it
now
is-
we're not.
As Christians, there are no hills that I would kill on.
No.
There is not one hill that I would kill on.
Well, there's only one hill. When someone's when someone else's life is in danger, then you can take another life. That's the only time.
Okay, I'll give you that. If there's one hill I would kill on, and about
Self-defense and others' defense.
5 to 10 live hills I would die on.
Yeah.
But the one hill I would kill on is if they're, well, because here's the thing, because you said to save another life, but that's what abortion is. So I'm not suggesting violence.
Let's open that up for a second.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Let's go from conversations to abortion.
Let's make this like.
Let's make this really unfriendly.
This is going to be a really weird conversation in a second.
This is going to be very uncomfortable, like a conversation.
Before we start, we are both saying, right, Paul? We have no plans to do any like
no. I think
stopping
the people.
abortions.
I think the people that, for example, blow up or just do full frontal assaults on abortion clinics.
Yeah, we're not.
I believe those people are complete psychotic people, or absolute psychopaths, and should be locked up. 100%.
I agree.
That said,
Now, this is where
now comes the awkward part.
This is probably the most cancelable
Take it away.
moment. I'm going to say it.
I don't care that you broke. I'm sorry. Fine.
Those people that try to physically stop abortions by I don't know, like shutting down abortion clinics. People have done this. They've attacked abortion clinics. They've tried to
like with
them.
bombs and stuff. Yeah,
And that's obviously wrong. You're gonna hurt the people that
100%.
are committing it. But it's that happening. Like if you think about it logically, if I were to go and try to kill someone with a gun,
okay,
and you saw that happening,
I would do everything I could to stop you.
You would do anything you could to stop me. Here's the issue. Abortion clinics, it's the exact same thing. There are people in there killing other people. It is happening right in front of us all the time. So it's interesting that we don't stop the gun, but we do stop. We stop the gun, but we wouldn't physically stop an abortion. It's interesting. Obviously, we shouldn't try to stop an abortion physically.
I think,
but we need to go legal. But
yeah, it's
weird.
It's a really weird. That's a really weird thing because you're right. As a Christian, I do believe that an unborn life is just as valuable as a born life.
Right.
But like, you're right. There is like a weird.
So what I'm saying is, those people. Yeah,
You shouldn't attempt. Here's the thing. I think if. No.
This is weird, isn't it?
This is very uncomfortable for me. Because what I want to say, I know is at the very least illegal, if not morally questionable. I do not believe that any abortion clinic or any person who performs abortions or anybody who works in an abortion clinic should fear for their lives because of pro-life people.
Right.
100%. That said, I do believe that committing an abortion is a murder. It's the same thing. I don't believe there's any difference between the 9 inches of birth canal.
Not at all.
See, okay, this is actually great that we got into this really uncomfortable scenario because this is a lot of times what arguments are like.
Yeah.
And I think both of us have done a fairly decent job so far of keeping level-headed.
Yeah.
That's weird. I don't like that.
Is it so? My
That's
point
very
is
uncomfortable.
is those people that are trying to physically stop it have a point.
Yeah, no, they 100% do. But so here's the thing. I think the way that they try to stop it matters, because usually the way that they try to stop it is by taking other lives. And the thing about that is the you do not have the right to take any human life unless it is in like a government execution type setting. Biblically speaking, I do not have the right to take another man's life unless one of two scenarios comes up. Either he is in the process of oh my gosh, it rounds back around.
Right.
No, here's the thing. Okay, no, I figured it out. Okay. The government, the only sanctioned, like 100% sanctioned thing in the Bible that I can think of right off the top of my head. I know there's rules in the Old Testament regarding self-defense and the defending of others, but the only other scenario, and this is the far more common scenario, where you are allowed to take a life is the government. It says the government does not wield the sword in vain. So the executioner, after the person has been convicted, they are the only person, barring the self-defense exceptions, they're the only person that has the right to take another life.
Right.
So I think, because if you're doing something wrong, if you're bombing or you're causing harm to people outside of the law, you are doing something equally as wrong as they are with that abortion. So stopping an abortion with violence is just as wrong as the abortion itself, because you don't have that right given by God. If the government comes in, if the government finally came to its senses and realized what it was doing was the untold genocide of babies, and they sent in like SWAT teams to stop it at any cost, that would be justified. Anybody else does not have that right.
Yeah.
There we go. That works for me. Does that work for you? Did I explain that well?
I get what you're saying, but it I don't know why it doesn't make sense to me still, because we just said that if you saw me trying to kill someone, you would try to stop me. But that person's also trying to kill someone.
I think the difference...
But it's legally protected under the United States law, and that's the issue.
I think the difference is because if you were going to shoot someone, if I had a gun, yeah, my first response would be to shoot you, but I would also then call the ambulance for you.
True.
You know?
Well, okay, well, here's the deal. We're kind of thinking black and white. You don't have to kill the person. You can just stop them.
It's much easier to kill them because stopping someone is very difficult. But, I mean, I would try to stop you as opposed to killing you if I could. With the abortion thing, that's a spicy meatball.
It's almost dangerous to talk about.
It is, because it creates this weird scenario in your head.
Because I'll say for the last time.
If you assault an abortion clinic, you're a monster and I don't like you.
Yeah. It is not okay to do any... It is not okay to physically assault an abortion... I don't even call him doctor, but an abortion specialist, performer, whatever.
A murderer.
Doctors don't kill people on purpose.
Doctors actually take a oath. I don't know if they still do.
They
do still take the Hippocratic Oath?
I think so.
Do no harm?
You're not supposed to kill people, doctors.
Psych!
Shocking! You're not supposed to kill the people.
Weird.
You're supposed to stop them from dying.
I don't know.
Now, but we have to make this very clear, almost just for legal reasons.
For legal reasons, this was all a joke.
The point is it is not okay to attack an abortion performer or an abortion clinic or to vandalize an abortion facility.
Vandalize my...
Shut up! It is not okay.
For legal reasons, that was a joke.
That was a joke.
For legal reasons, that was a joke.
And we'll put the spray paint back. And
what spray paint?
I don't... Shut up. Wink, wink. No. We would never do that.
No,
legit.
No, absolutely not.
We would never.
I look down on people who do.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, no, it's awful.
It's not the answer. But on a logical basis, none of this makes sense that we're saying that.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to get really controversial here because it's my freaking podcast.
Oh, it's ours.
It's our podcast.
Our comrades, brother.
Comrades. Here's the deal. I think we should make it illegal to have abortions.
Absolutely.
And if you abort a baby, I personally think you should be put to death.
Yeah, I believe you should be treated. I don't necessarily believe that it should be a guaranteed put to death, but I believe you should have the same criminal trial. And the only reason I say that is this: if you kill a pregnant woman, you are charged with double homicide.
Right.
And the reason for that is because if the woman was killed, even if the woman was like on her way to have an abortion, and you kill her, and she was pregnant, you get charged with double homicide.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think it should instantly result in a death penalty, but it should be treated as the murder of a human, as an innocent bystander.
The death penalty thing is another penalty thing is another.
I believe the state has the right, or the government has the right to put you to death.
I think if you kill another person on purpose, meaning we're talking the difference between first and second and third degree murder, all that kind of stuff. I think there's three of them, right?
Yeah, first, second, and third.
So obviously, that's I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything, but the point is it's murder. And
we've really gotten off in the weeds, but I think this is good because we've sort of given ourselves rules for talking about conversations and disagreeing and stuff. Not that we disagree, but if anybody happens to watch this, consider the rules that we've given you for disagreeing like a man, because if not, you're disagreeing like a boxed wine person, and frankly, I don't think you're.
No one likes boxed wine.
No one
actually, that one we had is pretty good.
I do actually like boxed wine. I just want to put that out there.
So, okay, let's go into this a little bit, and we're gonna end this pretty quick.
Well, yeah, we'll bring it back. We'll bring it back around.
Okay, so there are arguments like we talked about the parking the car.
Yeah,
not a big deal.
No,
it's not a big deal. But there's things like the abortion argument. Is there a difference in how we argue those two?
Absolutely, there should be.
I think so. It depends who you're talking to.
It depends who you're talking to. There ought to be a difference, though.
Here's the deal.
Yeah.
I personally don't really want to have a conversation about murdering kids and whether or not that's okay. I just want to make it illegal. And that sounds really bad to some people. I don't really want to have the conversation because
it's so obvious if you look into embryology.
It's almost like having that argument with someone.
It validates the opposing position.
Like it's almost worth arguing.
Yeah, it's like
it's
saying that
it's a freaking kid. You can't kill it.
There is, yeah.
I don't care if it's rape. I don't care if it's incest. I don't care what the crap it is. We have emergency contraception. We have condoms. No, you don't get to kill it. Yeah. And I'm not even gonna have the conversation with you. You know what's right and wrong.
But that said, it is important for us. There are so when we talk about pick your battles, that is one of those fights that you do have to have. As much as it makes me uncomfortable to have that kind of conversation, and as much as I don't like validating the other position, and like John was saying, as much as like even having the conversation makes it feel like the position of murdering children is a valid opinion to have, as much as gross as that makes me feel, people do have that opinion. And so it is my responsibility as a man to have those really uncomfortable conversations, because if I don't, who will? And
here's the deal. I say that, but at the end of the day, I will definitely sit down with a person that believes abortion's okay, and I will be respectful and all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
but, it's almost something I'm like, oh gosh, here we go.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm saying.
It's a frustrating situation
because the stuff you're gonna get into. It's gonna be like.
It's going to be very uncomfortable.
It's going to be uncomfortable, and then it's going to get emotional. Like, I remember the first big abortion debate I had in high school. This girl was like, so, you don't care. Like, if I get raped, you just want me to have to carry the child, don't you? You're a horrible person. And it just gets like that.
It turns into an insulting thing, and that's where it becomes really hard to stick to the rules that we've laid out, where you have to remain calm. You have to pick the bunny trails that you're going to go down. Because when they pull... When it happens, I don't want to say if, when it happens that someone goes for the throat and goes for an emotional nuclear bomb, like, oh, so you want me to get raped and be forced to carry the child? That's when it's on you to not throw up your hands and get upset and just say, right, that's not what I said. That's not my opinion. What my opinion is I don't want to kill a child. That's it.
Yeah.
Now, it's just, it becomes, I don't want the child to die. Regardless of what else is involved, I don't want that.
You still have to follow the rules that we talked about. That's just
regardless of if they're not. That's where it becomes hard.
And that's how you win the argument, though.
Yeah, because if they're not playing by the rules, that's when it becomes really hard for you to play by the rules. But that's when the rules become so valuable.
So like when something's in the oven and it's done cooking, it goes ding.
Yeah.
Right? When you win an argument, the same thing happens. But the ding is them insulting you.
Yeah. If
And
someone
going
goes
after
for
your
the
throat.
if someone goes for the insults, they've lost.
And that's how you know. So that's how you win a debate, really. It's just like they
If
get
you make
all
the other
personal,
person look
you're
insane,
like, nope, I'm not doing that.
yeah. If especially in debates, when like I said, you're not arguing for the benefit of the person you're talking to. You're arguing for the benefit of the people hearing. As soon as they start looking like a crazy person, that's when you've won, because you don't want to agree with a crazy person.
Of course, Ben Shapiro can make that work, and
Well, yeah,
it's
but
so different.
yeah, it's
He's
just
Jewish.
it's because he's a Jew.
That's a great podcast.
I am also Jewish, by the way. Please don't cancel me for calling him a Jew.
If anyone ever hears this, we're getting canceled,
Oh yeah, no, instantly.
and we're losing our jobs.
But you know what? That's fine. If I die, I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees.
See, that's.
Oh, that's true though. I would rather die on my feet
I
than live on my
want to
knees.
make one more point.
All right.
This is something that
We
ticks
should-
me off, and then we're done.
Then we're done. Then we're done.
Christians.
Oh no, hold on. We need to be done now. Hold on a second. Sorry, my wife came home. Very noisy. Go ahead.
Here's a fun point. There's a lot of Christians that can't. They think that politics and your faith are like these separate things, and that like Christians shouldn't argue about politics.
Yeah.
Gosh dang, can you please stop? Like, stop saying that, because
Your faith should inform your politics.
like politics has everything to do with your faith. I can't stand it when people.
I don't know
I
about
don't
everything, but it has a lot to
get a
do.
lot to do with
A
your
lot,
faith.
especially in the modern world we live in now.
Yeah. So like there are Christians out there that like, I don't talk about abortion because it's political, and I just want people to know Jesus. It's like, okay, but Jesus told you to seek justice and love mercy.
That's like the people who say that, what do they say? What do they say?
God.
Spread the gospel every day, use words if necessary. Shut up.
Be quiet. No.
Don't use words at all. Stop talking. Nobody wants to hear you.
It's like, no, okay, Paul told you to preach. And
I did do that.
And God told you to seek justice, love mercy, and stand for the people that can't stand for themselves.
Yes.
So you Christians that say like, we're not going to talk about abortion because it's political.
You're the worst.
Please.
You're the worst.
That you are completely missing the point of your faith.
Yes. Your faith is supposed to make you uncomfortable. I always say, if your faith doesn't make you uncomfortable, you need a better faith.
Right. We're not supposed to be friends with the world.
We
So
are
stop
supposed
trying.
to live in it.
They don't like us anyway. I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's not like they like us anyway. I mean,
They like us when we compromise.
Oh yeah,
They're
sure.
like, oh, I like
but
Christians,
that's,
he's
they,
not
they
like-
they don't like Christians.
Right. They don't like if you actually like live for Jesus,
It makes
You
people
are-
very uncomfortable.
you are not going to be the most like person.
Oh no, I mean shoot, Jesus. If Jesus showed up today, I'm pretty confident he would be crucified a lot faster than he was back then. I don't think he would have made it a full 3 years
Probably
for his ministry. I think it would be like 6 months.
Yeah.
Tops. And then he gets shot in the street. Anyway, all this to say, we hope that our ramblings have been at least somewhat helpful. We're trying something different. Hopefully you guys, the two of you that maybe watched this, hopefully you enjoyed this. Thank you very much for watching. Again, my name's Paul.
And this is John, and please,
If you
like and
enjoyed it,
subscribe.
no, shut up. I don't want to tell people that. That's so
yes,
cringe.
okay, then
That's
okay.
so cringe.
This is what
It's so cringe.
But it's so it's the
It's
YouTube
so
algorithm.
cringe.
Okay, fine.
If people were
Look,
gonna like
listen.
it, they were gonna like it.
No, you have to remind them.
No, you
Don't like and subscribe. Don't do it.
Shut up.
Just
That's
don't.
way worse. That's so cringe.
Please don't like and
stop
subscribe.
it.